Hi, Mr. Livers. For my IGT video that I'm doing for our history project, I'm gonna be explaining my topic to my stepmom Janda and my dad Magnus. Okay, so guys, today, or actually not today, but for my history project or final history project, I decided to do the topic of small businesses, so local small businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay.
Just for a brief introduction, or some background, she actually is a gallery. What would you call it? So manager, director.
Mm-hmm.
So she's actually had some experiences with the topic with COVID-19 that with the effects that happened onto her business, and some help that she's gotten for the government, which we'll talk about later in the video. So guys, first off, I wanted to talk about steps and kind of guidance that these businesses might be taking at this, like kind of recommendations from the CDC, and I kind of wanted to see if you guys relate to any of these, if you follow any of them, or anything like that. And for you, Puppet, just explaining them like what they are and the steps that they should be taking.
Yeah.
And then so while conducting my research, the first thing that I found out, communication is kind of key. So, if someone is like sick, they, it says here, actively encourage sick employees to stay home. So if you're feeling any symptoms, if you're, cold, fever, just to be safe, you may not always have the actual disease, but right now, as a highly contagious disease spreading around, it's very smart for, employees to be staying home if they're feeling any sicknesses. Emphasize staying at home when sick, respiratory etiquette and hand hygiene by all employees. So that means hand sanitizer and just washing your hands after you go out. So when you come to work, first thing you do, wash your hands. And I would think this would be actually especially important in places like restaurants if you're dealing with food that other people are going to be eating and consuming. Perform routine environmental cleaning, so cleaning around the area, around the workspace, just every day, or just have a kind of a scheduled cleaning routine, whether that be every day, every week, whatever it is. Advise employees before traveling to take certain steps. Check it, and then so that's meaning research about where you're going, because nowadays there's probably almost a guarantee someone's gonna have COVID-19. So just
But this is like now, you meaning, like not when everything was on lockdown and there was no traveling.
Here, you can drive places.
I think it's now the businesses, small businesses are starting to reopen.
And we're not talking about like when it first broke out and they were like, you have to close for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're talking about now that, ever since Georgia, they started reopening. Other states have been reopening too.
Yeah, most states are
exactly.
step 1 or step 2 or step 3 in reopening.
So we're talking more about that, just for safety, for trying to take as little risks as possible. Employees who are well but who have a sick family member at home with COVID-19 should notify their supervisor and refer to a CDC guidance of their potential exposure. So that's kind of course, it's the same thing. So I know I've talked about these are just tiny steps, but it's just basically be aware of where you're going, be safe, be clean, wash your hands, and all that type of things.
And mask.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I didn't mention that, but mask is definitely super important if you go out anywhere.
Yeah.
If you're in any, social place, like, not social, but like, when there's a abundant amount of people and all in one place, such as a supermarket, wherever you are, places like those. So what do you think? Do you follow any of those type of steps? Is there any specific things that you can relate to in this?
Well, what we've done at our gallery, so we have 3 employees and we have opened up to the public just a couple of weeks ago. So for the employees, what we've done is we've made sure that their office spaces are spaced as far away as possible. We do every morning when we come in, we have alcohol wipes, so we do wipe down of common materials, definitely like door handles, things like that, the bathroom, even our computer screens and things like that. And we all wear masks, and we've let our collectors know, like we have a sign on our door that anybody who wants to come in needs to be wearing a mask. If they don't have one, we have some disposable ones that we give them, but we basically make sure that everybody has that. We do our hand washing, and we take like our temperature every day before we went back to work. Actually, the owner had us do an antibody test just to make sure before we started that we hadn't already been exposed.
Awesome. And I was just curious.
And you don't all show up at the same time.
Yeah.
You have separate days for separate workers at the gallery.
I'm also thinking about one thing. How about like planning? Like if something, big was to happen in the future, like I don't know, there was a second wave coming about, since there's been a lot of talk of that since since everyone's been starting to reopen. A lot of people have been scared of a possible second wave. What do you guys have any plans in place just in case something big happens again where you're not allowed to see each other at all? What about like working from home?
Yeah.
That's another.
I mean, definitely we had the training in the first when we were all working from home for basically like a month and a half. So at that point we were doing a lot of Zoom meetings and things like that. For the time being, like we have an art gallery, so people would come in to actually see the art on the walls. So we basically planned for our upcoming shows to have a lot of virtual elements so that for people, if we do have to go back to total isolation, there's still a way for them to see through video and other media like what we're doing without actually coming in contact.
And that's actually what happened in lots of businesses, that they went like online.
Yeah.
Meaning like that.
Yeah, I get to. That's a big top. I mean, it's a pretty big because with this whole COVID-19, social distancing being a huge thing, people are in fear of going and catching the disease of going out. So a lot of businesses, small businesses especially, that may have not had any online usage at all, have now started to go delivery systems, websites. We'll get into that in a bit. So then I want to talk to you guys about some stats that I kind of found out about the COVID-19 for small local businesses. Now this was based off of a survey taken by the let me check my notes. Conducted by Main Street America.
Okay.
They surveyed about I think 300. It was like either. Sorry. Here it was 500 local business.
Small local
Small.
business. Okay.
Local meaning Miami?
Not Miami.
No.
Like it was local meaning like in
Whatever.
certain areas.
Yeah.
If you get what I mean. So basically, here are some of the things, or some of the stats taken out. This is not just of the survey. This is a mix from that website, the Main Street America website that I did my research upon.
Oh.
So here, of the nation's 30 million small businesses, approximately 7.5 million people are at risk of 7.5 million stores are at risk of closing down in the next 5 months, and 3.5 just in the next 2 months. So and because of the sudden decrease in revenue, of course, from people coming into stores and buying things, a ton of stores are having a huge pay like they can't pay employees, which I believe Will and Mark did a whole thing about that. Their whole topic was about unemployment, but I think I was in a different country. But that leads to unemployment, which leads to a lack of hands, and then it's like a domino effect, in my opinion. With the sudden pay loss, you can't
People aren't
afford
shopping
things.
as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, it's a huge impact. Consumerism is the backbone of America.
Yeah.
Like we buying stuff like keeps this economy going.
Yeah.
So like in terms of domino, that's like clear.
Yeah.
You know.
So unemployment has zoomed up here in the U.S. And then since the start of the pandemic, so I think it was beginning of March,
Yeah.
right? It says here about 35.7 million Americans working as small businesses are at risk of being unemployed, you know, which is a great number of jobs, you know, for people. And then, of course, later, a lot of these businesses are getting now help from the federal government, which we'll touch upon later. And, you know, because the federal government gives them aid to keep going for, you know, there's different programs that these businesses can take. Anyways, I'll get to that later. So then I got based off of this website, kind of statistics about, you know, the chances of them closing, and then, you know, the certain time period. So it says here 5.63%, less than 1 month, so it's not a very high amount. 26.28%, 1 to 2 months. It's getting steadily higher. And then the biggest one was 34.07%, 3 to 5 months. So that's kind of medium range about there. And then 7.62%, more than 5 months. I said 17.62%. And then 16.39%, not a concern at all about what's about to happen. So as you can see, it's kind of that mid-range, 3 to 5 months. You know, they're kind of scared about closing down, and that's the most problem.
But what do you mean by the 3 to 5 months? Closing?
That basically these small companies can have enough money to be able to keep going, sustain themselves for 3 to 5 months before they have no choice.
To close down. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So then, less than 1 month was, I think, the smallest one. Then the second smallest was not a concern at all. You know, these small businesses don't have a lot of them. I mean, some of them do, of course. Like, you know, more popular ones, maybe, like, I don't know, bigger ones. But a lot of these businesses don't have the money and resources to, you know, keep open for it, or to keep, you know, to stay afloat for that amount of time.
Right.
You know, because they kind of work on, you know, the money that they're getting in weekly or periodically. And then, so like I said before, the highest was the 3 to 5 months. It says here in March, so like around when the COVID-19 started, or here in the U.S. at least, 56.68% of small businesses saw their revenue go down by more than 75%.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, and that's a huge amount. Which, of course, like I talked before, led to the domino effect. 85% of businesses that have 1 to 5 employees had laid off at least one employee. So, you know, like we talked about before, the lead to unemployment and, you know, people losing their jobs. That was actually one of the biggest problems, like in terms of economy and like social, you know, in terms of the nation's, how would you say it, financial state? No. Yeah.
Financial stability.
Yeah. So here the use of new technological methods have been put into place to keep up, such as the use of shipping services and websites, like I mentioned before. And then on a recent survey conducted by the Main Street America, like I mentioned before, 70% of small businesses surveyed said that the most helpful information would be financial information in the next 90 days.
Yeah.
So from the government, from the, I think probably local government, and then federal government, you know, in order for aid. You guys have any questions so far? Papa, I went a little fast. You're all
No,
good.
but those are numbers that I think.
But you can ask Janta because she got that loan, that stimulus.
Yeah, but that's the
stimulus pack. Oh.
Yeah, here I'm gonna get into all the.
But for example,
you know,
like the businesses, like my brother who has a small business, he has a catering company with 3 employees. Because they work in perishable goods, like even when he was trying to stay open, he wasn't able to hold his food. So like the first businesses to really suffer are smaller restaurants and catering and things like that.
Yeah.
Where you just go from, you work in materials that need to be moved over quickly as opposed to like
I would imagine.
manufacturing.
I mean, they would just be like, you know, that's like their whole. a whole job. People like right when this happened are super scared,
Yeah.
and to go out.
Yeah.
So they're like, not even takeout, not even anything.
Yeah, because he would even have clients who wanted to, like, he was doing, like, made-to-order food at home, but when he would go to the grocery store, he was limited to chickens per client, you know, so he couldn't even get the food if people wanted it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then I'm gonna go into governmental help for each business or for small businesses and
In that number,
which number?
the numbers that were saying like 3 months until there is always a certain percentage of businesses that won't make it. Not even like without COVID. Like there's always the rollover of small businesses is pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like not every business plan is a working business plan.
Yeah, but I mean, those are probably the ones that have like less than 1 month.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then now it's more about government help for all these businesses. So first off, what I found in my research, what I actually didn't know before, is that local and state governments also have their own, ways of helping. So I took 2 states and then 2 cities to compare.
Okay.
So each state has its own benefits, like their own benefit program in order to help these small businesses.
Like emergency.
Since we live here in Florida, Florida has initiated the Small Business Emergency Bridge Loan Program. This program is available to any business in Florida that has experienced economic damage due to COVID-19. So that's Florida's, and then they didn't get into specifics, my website, but it was just more general. And then I got, one of the, I think, biggest impacted state, New York. I mean, I know New York City was the main place, but New York, that's a
New
big...
York is part of New York State.
Yeah, exactly. So I said New York, the New York Forward Loan Fund, is a new economic recovery loan program aimed at supporting New York State small businesses, nonprofits, and small landlords as they reopen after the COVID-19 outbreak and NYS on pause.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just loan programs established to help these small businesses for a little while longer.
Right.
Yeah. And then some local government, so that's I did 2 cities.
Okay.
I did Atlanta and then Los Angeles. Atlanta had the Atlanta City Council approved Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, calls for a $7 million coronavirus emergency fund that will allocate $1.5 million to small businesses. So just trying to give as much money as they can. Of course, they would. I would hope they would love to give more, but they have to devote money to other things. And then I did Los Angeles. Los Angeles has established a small business emergency microloan program. The program offers loans ranging from $5,000 to $20,000 with a 0 to 3% interest rates.
Right.
So, like I said before, on every type of, or not every type of government, but every state
On every
government
level,
and every local government has their own different program in place. And then here's the federal government is also aiding these small businesses, offering a different things such as paycheck protection program, and I believe you guys sign up for? Is it sign up or how does it work?
Yeah, you have to apply with all of these. You have to, like when they first announced it, you have to look through, make sure you're qualified, the amount of employees that you have, blah blah blah. Then you have to provide your financials and your information for your spending over the previous year to show how much you basically need per month for payroll and rent and things like that. You apply. There was a mad rush, so the first to apply were the first to get addressed. So we had to send in those forms, and about 2 weeks after we did that, we found out that we were approved and we got our money.
How much did you guys?
So in our case, we got like $30,000, which is supposed to be helping towards our rent, utilities, and our payroll.
Awesome. And then that I believe that expires 8 weeks after you receive the money?
So the good thing about this loan is after 8 weeks after receiving that money, if you can provide documentation that all of the money that was given to you in that loan was spent towards those things, then the loan is completely forgiven. So you're not required to, not only is it a no interest loan, but you're not required to actually pay it back.
Oh, so it's like
It's a stimulus.
It's-
I'm pretty
package.
sure. I think this is actually one of. I think it was the most popular.
Yeah.
Package that
Yeah.
provided, and then what's the name? It was the what did the president? He signed a thing. What was it called?
That provided money for all people who.
Yeah, he did he signed an act.
Yes.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was,
the benefit act or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Oh.
Which both of us got. So any employee in the United States basically got a flat check per person
Like
Right.
for $1,200.
for $1,200.
yeah.
So if you pay your taxes and so on, if you're like, then you got this automatically. You didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And your
But that was a one-time
Yeah.
payment, and there might be another one.
But in your case, like in terms of local and state level, you as an artist were also able to apply for like artist relief.
Yes.
Were those through nonprofits that were based locally and statewide and
Yeah.
citywide?
That's all like individual, like non-for-profits,
Right.
basically.
Right.
So it's not that. No, I don't even think that they get like. That's not federal money.
No. Right.
That's what they have gathered themselves, the Uleid and the Locust and you know. But you know, like the first program, the first federal program, was like a total failure for small businesses. They came out with this like giant silo of money.
Yeah.
And it never trickled down to the small businesses. It was just swept up by bigger businesses.
Right.
Yeah.
Because like
Because the problem is if you have a franchise like McDonald's, each location may only have a certain amount of employees, so technically you qualified. But these big companies, so they had to revise the language, and a lot of these companies then are supposed to be giving the money back.
they just didn't have the tools to
The
get
need.
down.
Yeah.
They had this huge amount of money, but like and trying to sift it down to these smaller businesses, and it never
Made it down there.
no, it never made it down there. So this is like was through a bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the business, now this is important. So the businesses, they get this money from their bank. This is not from the government.
It's through the government, but it's through it's
the
through a
bank.
local bank.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bank gets it from the government, but you're dealing with your business accounts at
the
your
bank, yeah.
local bank.
Yeah. And then there was also an emergency grant of $10,000 to SBA economic injury disaster loan applications.
Right.
So even if your business is denied a loan, you can still access this grant, which can be used to provide employees sick leave, maintain payroll, or meet other needs like paying rent.
Right.
So this is for more, I think, I don't want to say personal, but like, you know, if someone gets sick
Yeah.
or something,
Specific.
an injury disaster, like it says in the title. Okay, and then the last thing that I want to talk about is kind of so there's a lot of negativity going around, or not negativity, but there's been a lot of cons, of course, to the COVID-19 and to small businesses.
Mhm.
So I was just wanting, in my research, I thought about, hey, are there any benefits regarding,
Being a small
yeah.
business as opposed to a big.
Exactly. So I put here, of course, the new development of technology to, kind of, I don't know, how do you say it, like to modernize
Yeah.
maybe these small businesses, the new, for restaurants, like delivery systems, which can be very useful. Of course, people don't have to drive there and they can feel safe at home, ordering their food.
Mhm.
Maybe websites, for people, they want to research and expand into, maybe other areas.
Right.
A website is always a great tool where you have all your information, what you sell, sales, anything like that, to advertise your business. So yeah, have you, have you guys experienced any benefits, or is it just pretty much?
Well, I think that the benefit, like if you think about businesses like ships, if you look, the bigger the business, the more things have to fall in line to make changes. So a huge corporation needs to have a lot of things fall in line to be able to make changes. So for example, you have a whole new line of sanitation that needs to go through all these things with all these employees that have to go through. So you have to turn that ship, it takes a lot more work. Smaller businesses, because there are fewer people involved and less steps to like go through, we are in the advantage that we can make quick changes to the way that we choose to conduct our business, because we're not beholden to like stockholders and things like that.
And you know, most of this like technology was already there.
It just wasn't being used.
No, it wasn't used
No,
that
I know,
much.
I know.
You know, like
But now
everybody
they must.
had a presence on
Yeah.
the internet and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But it's just like boosted it up as
So like
as the
for
main face
us,
of
like
the
as a
business.
small business, because we started reaching out more with like Instagram live videos
Yeah, I
and
remember.
and doing things like that, in a way, even though we've been more isolated from our clients, we've had more interaction with our clients and our artists as a result of that, because everybody was starving for some way to communicate. So in a way, it's actually brought us closer to our clients and business.
And by the way, it's the CARES Act.
Yes.
Cares
There
it,
is
no.
Where you could, request any of those programs. Well, okay, guys. I know we had to end that kind of fast because of our long time, but thank you guys so much for doing this for me, and hope you enjoy Mr. Livers. Bye.
Thank you.